Welcome back. As Democrats debate all aspects of the party's strategy and messaging ahead of next year's midterms, one veteran operative with deep ties to the party is calling for a new way of doing business. Adam Jentleson, who has worked for everyone from the late Senator Harry Reid to John Kerry and most recently served as chief of staff to Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, has launched a new group. It's called Searchlight Institute, aimed at refocusing Democratic messaging and straying away from more progressive talking points and issues. And joining me now to discuss this new group is Adam Jentleson, the founder of that group. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Kristen. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, Adam. Let me just start with the big question. Why did you want to start this group? Why do you think it's time for a new path forward?
That's a great question. And, the reason is that for too long, Democrats have been locked into a culture of rigidity and orthodoxy that I think has been very damaging to the party. And I think the key thing here is that what we at Searchlight are advocating for is not moving right, left, or center. It is to have a mix of policy positions that reflects the true complexity of the American people. And for about 10 years, you've had the growth of this multi-billion-dollar influence industry whose primary goal has been to keep Democrats in adherence to a very rigid liberal orthodox views. And that is why Democrats have lost the ability to compete in red states, in purple states, and swing states. When I was working in the Senate in 2009, Democrats had 60 Senate seats. We had both Senate seats in Arkansas, both Senate seats in West Virginia, a seat in states like Louisiana, Nebraska, and Indiana. And we've lost our ability to compete in those states because we've become too rigid as a party. So what we are trying to do is break open that culture of rigidity and get Democrats to think big and to think creatively and to cross ideological boundaries once again.
Well, let's talk about what that means in practical terms based on what I've read, and I want your take. Part of what you were saying is we need to focus less on issues like LGBTQ rights, climate change. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate description of part of your strategy?
Not exactly, because I think what we would advocate for is for Democrats to be clear about where the American people stand. And we do believe that leadership is important. We are not going to tell Democrats to only take positions that poll well or only take positions that are already popular. We think leadership is important. And so what we think is that Democrats believe very strongly that they want to lead out on an issue such as trans rights or climate change, they should absolutely do that, and we will support them in doing so. But what we want them to know is where they stand with the American people. And for too long, we have created an information culture that has basically lied to Democrats with numbers and caused them to believe that all of these issues are already popular with the American people. And what we believe is we need to sort of bring some hygiene back to this information culture and help people understand where the American people actually stand. So that if there are core issues where Democrats want to lead out on because it's very important to them or to the constituencies that they represent, then by all means they should do so. And Searchlight will be right there supporting them. But what we've done is we've gotten out in front of the public opinion, not just on 1 or 2 or 3 issues, but on 5 to 10 issues. And that is a big part of why Democrats have come to find themselves out of power as we have today.
What is the reaction that you're getting so far, Adam? Have you gotten any backlash to this strategy where you're basically saying, let's be practical moving forward, let's look at the big picture? Are you bracing for backlash?
Oh, we've gotten some, and we knew we would. And that's, I think what we're trying to do here is to introduce a culture where we go back to saying the things that we believe out loud in public and let the chips fall where they may. I think we've had a culture that has sort of tried to suppress people from saying things that they truly believe. I think there are very few candidates out there who believe every single left-wing position on every issue, but they felt like they've had to say it. And so, the reaction is part of what we are going for here. We think if we were not causing some people to get upset, we wouldn't be doing our jobs right. So we have had it. We're not daunted by it. We think that's part of a signal that we're doing our jobs right. But all we can do is stay committed to our core commitments of telling the truth, of being transparent, and putting information out there that we believe to be true, and that's what we're going to do.
Adam, I wonder if you can take us inside your time frame for this. Is this something that you think, do you think your group can make real inroads ahead of the midterms, or are you looking more at the next presidential election?
I think we can make an impact right away. I think we already have. We launched on Wednesday, and we've already made a big reaction. I'm here talking to you, and we are I think in the minds of a lot of folks already. And we are going to be putting out a high volume of polling data, a high volume of creative, unorthodox issues starting right now. And I think we will have a lot of information out there that will be useful to people in the midterms, but in particular, looking towards, building towards a synthesis of a comprehensive agenda in 2027 and 2028.
Adam, I do want to ask you about your former boss, Senator John Fetterman. Last year, you raised concerns about his mental health as he continued to recover from the stroke he suffered during his campaign. He called it a, quote, hit piece. I wonder how tough of a decision it was for you to leave his office.
It was really hard. And I think I still feel a tremendous amount of compassion towards him. I think that ultimately I felt compelled to say the truth about what I believe is a very dangerous situation and condition. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I wish him all the best. But I think the truth is the truth. And it's really important for the people of Pennsylvania and the American people in general to know the truth.
Well, I do want to ask you, and this kind of fits into the broader question about strategy moving forward. Senator Fetterman just made some comments that got a lot of attention, basically saying that he does not think that President Trump should be described as an autocrat. He says if you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. He has a back and forth, and he says, I just don't agree with many of the things with President Trump, but that does not make him an autocrat. Do you agree with that message from Senator Fetterman, or do you side and would you advocate for a strategy that includes using words like autocracy to describe what's happening right now?
I think Senator Fetterman is free to describe things the way he wants to. I think Democrats should speak their mind very clearly. I think the things that President Trump have unequivocally, clearly raised serious questions about the rule of law and the consolidation of power in the executive beyond what we have seen in many, many years and potentially ever in the presidency here in America. So I think that it is important not to downplay those concerns, even as we debate over the use of language. But I think what Senator Fetterman is doing is really sort of zeroing in on language and semantic concerns that I think are probably not core to the real issues at stake here.
And just big picture, Adam, as you look towards the midterms, as you look towards the next presidential election, the big divide in the Democratic Party, is it time for Democrats to fight fire with fire? How do you see this battle playing out?
I think it is absolutely time for Democrats to fight. I think one of the mistaken assumptions we've been working on for about 10 years now is that fight has to come by moving far to the left across a range of issues. And I think you're even seeing a recognition of that from folks on the left. I think the way to win this fight that we are pitted in, which I think is the stakes could not be higher, is to build as big and broad a coalition as we possibly can to develop strategies that will allow Democrats to once again win in those kinds of states that we used to represent as recently as the Obama administration. That is the way to overcome the structural forces that we face today. But that has to be about building a big tent. And there is no contradiction between a big tent strategy and a strategy that is dedicated to fighting. In fact, I would argue that those advocating for a big tent strategy, for those like us who are advocating that trade-offs are a real and necessary part of politics, we are the ones who are going to lead us to a strategy that enables us to beat back these dangerous forces that are threatening our democracy.
All right, Adam Jentleson, so fantastic to have you today. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.